Hello everyone, George Christie here again with the Wine Industry Network, and I'd like to welcome you to the second half of the Wine Industry Sales Symposium. Today is our Direct2 or D2 Symposium Day dedicated to the Direct-to-Consumer channel. We've got three incredible sessions. We're going to cover the overall state of the DTC channel for the first half of the year, what some of the most successful wineries were doing prior and during the COVID-19 to drive and maintain sales, proven engagement strategies, and we're going to finish the day with a session dedicated to sustaining sales without tasting room traffic. This is a topic that obviously was already incredibly relevant with the pandemic, but now layering on the new round of fires that we're experiencing here in California, it's become even more relevant. Before I introduce our moderators for the day, I'd like to thank our sponsors. It's their support that allows us to offer this conference for free to the entire industry. Commerce 7, Copper Peak Logistics, Orion Wine Software, Outshinery, Queenie Wine Intelligence, the Digest of Wine and Spirits Law, The Good Company, Vin Expo New York, and Wine Shipping. Thank you all so much for your support. Next, I'd like to reintroduce our moderators for the day, Eric Guerra and Laura Webb. Eric brings 17 years of wine experience. He's led some of the industry's most iconic wineries and wine brands, including his recent wine venture, ReserveTastings.com, which is a direct-to-consumer private wine and music club. Eric is also the author of a new book titled When Great Wine Is Not Enough. Eric, welcome, or welcome back, I should say.
Thank you very much. And the 17 years is reflected on every gray hair that I have up on my head.
Hey, Eric, tell us a little about Reserve Tastings.
Well, Reserve Tastings is a wine and music company, the only one in the world that pairs wine with music. You know, we pair wine with food, but we pair wine with music. My wife is a professional jazz musician named Mindy Hebert, one of the world's greats. And we create, we have a little private club that creates high-end wines from some winemaker friends I have, real small lot. And we create labels and concepts and playlists that go along with each style of wine. So our whole life, we live wine and music. So we created this little company called ReserveTastings.com. It's all about wine and music, and it's been amazingly well received.
That's great. Our other moderator, Laura Webb, is the founder of Webb Brand Consulting and a partner at Oakos Partners with nearly 20 years of business management and execution experience, working in strategy, marketing, and innovation within both the B2C and B2B sectors. For a decade, Laura led marketing strategy and execution for several branded portfolios, along with managing global innovation for Brown-Forman's $3 billion business. Laura, welcome.
It's great to be back again today, George. Thanks for having me.
So in the spirit of transparency, and we shared this yesterday, all of these sessions were recorded for quality purposes over the last day or so. So Laura, I want to go back to you and ask you a little about your thoughts of how things have changed from the three-tier symposium that we did last year to what we're doing this year.
Well, the biggest inclusion, George, which I'm grateful for and hopefully the audience will find great benefit from, is this day 2 focused on D2C. And, you know, even in day 1, we heard distributors talking about the importance of the D2C channel and the recognition that it is a critical channel, ever more so today than before. So really excited to have these worlds, really sort of a holistic view of our wine sales and marketing world come together in these 2 days.
Yeah, no, and I think a lot of that was based on the feedback we got from the session and the conference last year, which says, hey, if you're going to talk about sales, right? And let's make it as inclusive a conversation as you can. So we were really excited to introduce the Direct2 format to the conference as well. Eric, you're going to be leading the next session. You want to tease up the next the opening session?
Absolutely. I'm very excited about this one because I've spent most of my career managing some of the 3-tier behemoths like Kendall Jackson, right? Everywhere. But for the last few years, I've been immersed in a direct-to-consumer company. So the direct-to-consumer data is really outstanding and it's exploding. And this next session, Commerce 7 goes through some numbers that you absolutely have to listen to. He breaks down what really is working and not working over the last few months in the pandemic. And to me, it was like someone handed me a bag of gold. Even though I was moderating it, I was learning more than I ever have in 20 minutes. So.
That's terrific. Well, you know what? I think that's a perfect segue. Eric, we're going to hand it off to you and Zach and let you guys kick off today's conference.
This session is sponsored by Commerce 7, customer-centric commerce. And Copper Peak Logistics, taking a craftsmanship approach to fulfillment services where customization, white glove service, personal relationships, and honoring commitments are at the core of everything we do. And Outshinery, stunning bottle photography, every single time.
This seminar has been outstanding, and this is our new world, virtual seminars, especially in the wine industry. Now, what's been going on recently with the fires and the pandemics, especially the fires most recently, that's affecting all these little wineries, large wineries, mid-sized wineries so much, is direct-to-consumer seems to be keeping us all alive most significantly during most of these challenges. So what we have next is an outstanding discussion on the state of the direct channel, what the top performers are doing differently. And I'd like to introduce Zach Kampuis. He's a general manager of Commerce 7. And when Zach comes up to give his presentation, please use the chat function on the software. You can ask questions and we will absolutely get back to most of them. But let's introduce Zach for the State of the Union.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. And happy to be here. Thank you guys for inviting me to the D2 Symposium. All right. So as Eric said, my name is Zach Kampuis. I'm the general manager at Commerce 7. Commerce 7, if you're not familiar with us, we're a winery DTC platform. So our winery clients use our platform to sell through all their major direct-to-consumer sales channels. We have a POS they use in their tasting rooms, e-commerce tools for their websites, wine club management software, a reservation system, and a CRM. And as Eric said, today I'm going to be talking about the state of the direct channel and what the top performers are doing differently. Right, so to start off here, I'm going to be talking about the state of the direct channel, right? What we at Commerce 7 have been seeing from our clients over the past 7 months this year, right? What we're seeing in the direct channel here. So I'm going to be talking about a lot of data here, a lot of aggregate data, showing you a lot of graphs and charts pulled from our aggregate data. And to give you some context on this data that I'll be talking about, it's pulled from our 400 winery clients. 79% of these winery clients are based in the United States. Right? This data only includes live clients. And so what that means is if a winery client of ours is in the middle of getting set up or transitioning over from a competitor platform, we didn't include their data here. We did include historical data imported from other systems, right? So if somebody transferred over from a competitor, they brought over the historical orders and other details there. We did account for that. And we have excluded club sales for the first couple of charts that you're going to see. The first section here doesn't take into consideration club sales. So the primary channels that I'll be focusing on here in the beginning are POS and web. And so just to give you some insight into what these are, right? POS, this is essentially the tasting room channel, right? So any order within the POS channel, that's an order that was created on our point of sale system, typically created in the tasting room. And web, so this is any basically e-commerce order, right? Any order that's created online on the website. And so neither of these channels include club orders or orders created through club processing here. So with that out of the way here, let's get to what we found. So the first graph that I'm going to go over outlines the percentage of sales that each channel contributed to the total sales on our platform here. So we can see that the year started out pretty typical, right? January, February, POS sales were the majority of sales on the platform at about 60 to 65%, right? As tasting rooms started to close and we transitioned here with COVID, we see that web orders are taking over and they're peaking at about 82% of all orders on the platform here in April. So April's the peak here, right? In the following months, started to drift back down. And in June, July here, right, once again, we're seeing that POS orders are the majority of orders on the platform here. So that last graph, pretty expected, pretty typical, right? You probably could have guessed that's what happened. What really surprised us, though, what was really unexpected is that this huge channel shift to e-commerce was actually driven by new customers, right? 63% of online orders that were created in the past 7 months, they were created from a new customer. Right, only 37% of orders, of online orders created in the last 7 months actually came from someone with an existing customer record or from a club member. Right? So the majority here of the orders are coming from new customers, and that's what's driving, or that's what drove this huge channel shift here, which is really exciting. This graph here outlines sales by channel for the POS. And so this is not as a percentage of total sales on the platform, but this is actually just volume, right? Sales volume that we saw over the past 7 months here. And so you can see, from February to April, right, big dip in POS sales as you could expect. And that May, June, July here, the following months, we're seeing it climb back up and reach into new all-time highs here. If we go to the next chart, right, this is a bit of the inverse. This is web orders by volume over the last 7 months here. And so we can see that these peaked in April here, right? There's a dip, a bit of a cool down here with May and June, but that they're actually trending back up for July here. And so if we take the two graphs that I just showed you, overlay them here, right, you can see they look very similar to the first graph we went over that showed percentage of total sales. But when we're looking at the volume here, we see that for June and July, the volume on both of these channels is actually increasing here. So this next graph here shows what happens when we combine these two channels. Where we see the line at the top, the total sales on the platform over the last 7 months here. And, pretty good news here. What we're seeing is more or less month over month growth in sales over the last 7 months here. Right? We're seeing every month, more or less, we're seeing more sales here on the platform than we did see the month before here. So going back to web sales here, right, I like to show this as a bar chart as well, because this is a great way of outlining that, although online orders or e-commerce orders peaked in April and they've cooled down a bit here, they're still significantly higher than they were at the beginning of the year, right? So although they've cooled down, the baseline is still a lot higher here. We can see that for June and July, online sales are significantly higher than they were at the beginning of the year for January and February. So when we look at July compared to the beginning of the year, right, compared to January and February, we can see that online sales have grown 68% here, right? Online sales in July are 68% higher than they were in February, right? Even though there's been that cool down, online sales are still very high, which is great news. Another interesting thing to look at here is when we look at June compared to July, we see that both channels have grown here, right? We see that from June to July, web orders have increased by 21%. And so even though they cooled down from their peak, they're still increasing here. And tasting room sales have increased by 37%, right? So it's great that online sales are still growing here, as I know that there's a lot of uncertainty today with what's going on with tasting rooms. This next graph here is a bit different than sales. So this is showing how many online orders on our platform are being completed that have discounted or free shipping on them. And so this graph was another graph that was a bit of a surprise to our team here. Right? We anticipated that the majority of discounted or free shipping would be seen in April or March. But what we actually found here is that, aside from January, month over month, we're seeing more and more orders on our platform being completed, more and more online orders on the platform being completed with discounted or free shipping here, right? So if you're offering shipping to your customers online at cost, or if you're not discounting it, 80% of the orders that we're seeing completed are, and so that's definitely something to consider there. So just to summarize here, it's not all doom and gloom. I know there's a lot going on right now. I know that, obviously there's a lot of turbulence over the year with COVID, but it's not all doom and gloom, right? We're seeing month over month net sales growth on the platform. We're seeing our winery clients have net sales growth month over month here. And we're seeing that, there's a huge explosion in e-commerce orders. And although it's cooled down a bit, it's still a massive opportunity. It's still up 68% from the start of the year. And so, the growth that we're seeing with e-commerce, right, a lot of that growth is here to stay, which is a fantastic opportunity. Let's talk about what we found with the wine club, right? What were our wine club findings? So this first graph here goes over signups. So this is essentially, what percentage of total active club members on our platform were acquired in a given month, right? So for example, in January, 3.78% of all active club members on our platform were acquired in January here. And so this basically measures signups We can see that, over the year here, right, hasn't been, too much of a trend. Maybe they dipped a bit in March, maybe they dipped a bit in May, but for the most part, signups have been pretty consistent over the year here. This next chart goes over club cancellations, right, club churn here. And so, what percentage of active club members for a given month actually canceled in that given month? And so you can see at the start of the year here, right, cancellations were pretty high. January, February, March, right there, April, all pretty high, but they've kind of leveled off here and they've decreased from May, June, and July here. When we take these two graphs and we overlay them, right, this is what we get. Something interesting about this graph here is you'll see that for March, right, March was a 1 month here where there's a period where cancellations outpaced signups, right, where churn was outpacing acquisition. What's interesting about this, though, is in the same time period, right, the same time period in March, we know that wine subscriptions did really well, right? We know that in March, Wink announced that they had an increase in signups of 578%. Right? So during this period where for wine clubs, churn is outpacing acquisition, for the clubs, we're seeing for wine subscriptions that, they're doing great, they're doing fantastic here. So this leads us to believe that, maybe it's time to rethink the wine club, right? How come wine subscriptions did so well in this period in March while wine clubs saw, cancellations outpace acquisitions there, right? What constitutes this difference here? And so maybe it's time to, take a deeper dive and rethink, what a wine club is compared to a wine subscription. So looking at this data, there's net growth month over month. E-commerce is doing well. That said, though, not all wineries performed equally, right? Unfortunately, 47% of the wineries on a platform did see a decrease in sales this year, right? So not everybody is kind of sharing in this e-commerce growth or this month over month growth here, right? 47% of wineries are actually seeing a decrease in sales. And so this leads us to the next part of the presentation here, which is what are the top performers doing differently? Right, so when we think about what the top performers are doing differently, first we have to articulate, what constitutes a top performer, right? Who is a top performer? And so in doing this, we decided to kind of base top performance around these metrics here, right? We took a look at all of our clients and we took a look at who had the largest positive % change in web and POS orders over the year. Which wineries had the largest positive % change in club signups over the year. And we, after running this data, we implemented some minimum thresholds in order to keep things accurate, right? If I signed up, 1 member in January and 10 members in July, well, I didn't really, 10x my club sign up rate. I just had, really low volume there. And so we put some minimum thresholds in to account for this here. And so once we were able to say who the top performers were, we took a look at what these top performers were doing on their websites, what they were doing with their clubs, what they were doing with their marketing, right, to see if we could find any trends here in terms of what they were doing well on the platform. So let's start by looking at what they were doing well with their websites, right? When looking at the top performers and what they were doing on their websites, all of the top performers were optimizing for sales. So what does this mean to be optimizing for sales? It means that all of these top performers made it very easy to purchase on the website, right? On the homepage, they all had either a shop now button, a buy now button, or products right on the homepage here, right? I didn't have to search around the site to make a purchase. As soon as I got there above the fold, it was very obvious and easy how I could actually purchase on the site, right? All these websites were optimized to sell here. Many of the top performers utilized personalization. Right, so if you're not familiar with personalization, it's dynamically changing content on your website based off of who is viewing and visiting the website. Right, so it's dynamically changing the content and the products on the website so that they're unique and they're specific to the visitor based off your relationship with that visitor. Right, so we know at Commerce 7 that personalization is a great way to drive online sales. Right, we have a couple personalization tools. And we know that our clients who utilize personalized product pages, they get 16.5 times more add to cart clicks than our clients who don't, right? So they're dramatically outperforming those who don't. So this means that our clients who have product pages like this, right, that are personalized, that show unique products based off the purchaser's history, off of what they've been searching, off of what they've been buying, that show tailored and personalized content based off of the relationship they have with the visitor. Right, they're getting 16.5 times more add to cart clicks than our clients who have just kind of generic pages like this that don't change based off who's visiting the site. And so we know on our platform that 15% of wineries are utilizing some kind of personalization. And from looking at the data, we saw that there was a significant overlap between the top performers and those 15% of wineries on our platform who are utilizing personalization. Right, so the top performers on our platform, they were personalizing content, personalizing products on their websites to be specific and unique based off of who was visiting the site there. Right, when we looked at the top performers for the club, right, what were they doing with their wine clubs? We saw that every single top performer was offering discounted or free shipping for their wine club, and they were using it as a sales tool. Right, they were advertising it or talking about it on their website. And so when I'd go to sign up for the club, they'd have it right up front there that as a club member, I get discounted or free shipping. And this didn't really come as a surprise to us. Right? We know that customers hate paying for shipping. Shipping charges are the #1 reason for cart abandonment. And so it makes complete sense that all the top performers would be offering free or heavily discounted shipping with their wine clubs. Right, another wine club finding we found here is that all of the top performers offered some kind of customizable option for their club. Right, so they're doing user choice. There was a wide range of what kind of user choice or what kind of customizations they were offering. Some people were letting customers change everything. Some had tighter parameters around what could and couldn't be changed within the packages, but they all were offering some level of user choice, some level of customization. And once again, they all use that as a sales tactic. They talked about it on their website. They talked about it on their club sign-up pages. And so this is another stat that didn't really come as a surprise to us. Looking at our aggregate data at Commerce7, we know that 24% of wine club members will edit their package if you give them the opportunity. And so it makes complete sense that the top performing wineries were the ones that gave members the option to customize their package and edit their package. And if we looked at what the top performers are doing for marketing, unfortunately, we don't have a ton of insight into the type of ads they're running or marketing campaigns or emails they're sending out. What we do have a lot of insight to, though, is who is collecting data, right? Which wineries are collecting the most amount of data. And we found that the top performers were capturing the most amount of data pre-COVID, right? They're capturing the most emails in the tasting room. So on our platform, we know that in the tasting room, 47% of orders are completed with a customer record attached. So on 47% of your tasting room orders, you have an email for that order. You have an email that you can remarket to and put in your database and remarket to in the future. 53% of on average, 53% of orders in the tasting room, they're not attached to a customer record. So you have no opportunity there to be remarketing or emailing that person. And so what we found looking at the top performers is that all of the top performers beat that 47% average. All of them were capturing more than 47%, had a higher email capture rate than 47% in the tasting room here. All right, so some key takeaways so far. Key takeaways when we talk about the state of DTC. Net DTC sales are up, right? They're up for the year. They're up month over month. So net DTC sales are up. E-commerce growth is here to stay, right? This is, with all the uncertainty with tasting rooms right now, this is an awesome finding that we found. E-commerce growth is here to stay. Although it's cooled off from where it was in April, right? It's still up significantly from where it was last year or from the beginning of the year, right? E-commerce for July, it's up 68% compared to the start of the year, compared to January or February here, right? Final key takeaway for the state of DTC, wine clubs are not keeping up with wine subscriptions, right? In March, we saw churn outpace acquisition. During the same time period, right, Wink, one of the bigger wine subscriptions, announced that they saw an increase of subscription signups over 500%. Right, so wine clubs are not keeping up with wine subscriptions. Key takeaways in terms of what the top performers are doing. Right, we're seeing the top performers. They captured more data in the tasting room before COVID. Right, when their tasting rooms were open last year, they had a much higher email capture rate in the tasting room. The top performers, they're a lot more likely to utilize personalization. Right, they're a lot more likely to dynamically change and personalize the content and the products on their website based off of who is visiting and their unique relationship with that visitor. The top performers, they offered free or heavily discounted shipping for their club members, and they offered clubs that had a level of customization to them, right? The level of customization varied, but they all offered a level of customization. Right, so how do you take action on this data, right? What can we do here? First, right, I know that this is annoying. I know this gets brought up a lot and it gets beaten to death. But when and if the tasting room opens back up, you have to be capturing emails, right? This is so important to driving online sales, so important to driving e-commerce sales. You get the email in the tasting room, you can remarket to that visitor, and you can grow their lifetime value, right? You can grow their e-commerce lifetime value. This is what we're seeing the top performers do. This is key to driving your e-commerce sales here. So unfortunately, there's not one size fits all solution to getting emails in the tasting room. There's no perfect solution here. It's just something that you have to do, right? You just have to incentivize your staff any way you can. There's some new tools out there you can use, like Wi-Fi marketing, where if you have good Wi-Fi in your tasting room and people are connecting to your Wi-Fi, you can make them give up their email in exchange for that Wi-Fi access, right? You can capture that, and that way you're getting emails from visitors who may not even be making a purchase here. But this is kind of a workaround. There's no ideal solution. It's just something that you have to do. You just have to incentivize your staff to get emails. Another way you can take action, start personalizing online. Start dynamically changing the products and the content that you're showing to visitors on your site based off your relationship with that visitor, right? Most e-commerce platforms out there, they're going to have some personalization tools. Take the time to look into what you can do. Take the time to implement them. We see this drive a ton of revenue for our clients. We see it drive a much higher conversion rate. Right? So utilize personalization online, personalize people's online experience based off your relationship with them. Right? Start by changing content, changing products that people see on the site when they come to the site here based off their relationship with you. Right? Final way you can take action here: model your club after the industry-leading subscriptions. Right? Clubs are not keeping up with subscriptions. And so it's definitely worth taking the time to see what the subscriptions out there are doing so well, right? Go to Wink's website, go to Dollar Shave Club, Blue Apron, see what's in their marketing, see what they advertise on their site, see what they feel is important to outline to their customers, start the sign-up process, walk through the customer journey, see what they're doing so well, and see what you can take inspiration from and start to implement with your club, because we're seeing huge success for wine subscriptions out there today. And that's dramatically outpacing the success that wine clubs are having today. So I appreciate you all taking the time to listen to the presentation here. I appreciate you all taking the time to tune in to the D2 Symposium. I appreciate the Wine Industry Network putting this virtual event on. This has been great. And so I think we're going to go into a bit of a Q&A here with Eric.
Well, thanks, Zach, man. That was a lot of really, really excellent information. I mean, I run a little wine company online, and all the trends that you are going through that you've seen with your clients, absolutely we've been through as well. But I do have a couple quick questions for you. The first is, how do you delineate between a club and a subscription service? Because to a lot of our customers, they feel like the same. I know that one might be a winery based and one might be, as you mentioned, like Wink or Blue Apron. But how do you disseminate between those two?
Yeah, that's a great question. They are fairly similar, but I feel that a subscription is a lot more customer centric in what it offers, right? It gives the member a lot more control, and it gives them a lot more options to tailor things. And so what I mean by that is, when you look at the subscriptions that are out there today, when you look at Wink or Dollar Shave Club or Blue Apron, right, they allow the member to control the frequency of the shipments. Mm-hmm. They often allow the member to control the specific shipment dates. Right. And so, just in general, they're putting the customer at the center of the experience. They're revolving everything around the customer and the customer's unique preferences. Many of them are, tailoring the products themselves for the customer, right? With Wink, they give you the products that they feel that you're going to like instead of just kind of a generic default. And so, long story short, subscriptions are giving the customer more options, more opportunity. They're putting the customer at the center of the entire experience and interaction.
They feel a little bit more like the virtual kind of online plays versus the real brick and mortar wineries or negotiations that are online. Now, it's interesting you mentioned those two, because I don't think you actually know this, but I helped Blue Apron and Wink both start their, I didn't help Wink, I helped them with their wine. But I did help Blue Apron with their online business. And there was a balance, and everybody here definitely knows what I'm mentioning, is is that there is a balance as a winery general manager, president, or the positions that I've held between the customization and wanting to make sure that, you balance the production side of things as well. You got wine that needs to be released, you got white wine aging. So they've been able to find that balance. And that's something I think that wineries struggle just a little bit with, because we're all about, okay, we got our Cabernet, we're going to release it. We're Wink and Blue Apron and all these guys, not knowing their business intimately, but I think that they're a little bit better at figuring out the flexibility of the industry and their inventory than us winery people kind of grew up in. So it requires us to think a little bit differently. Yeah. Really excellent data. I mean, really fantastic to see that direct-to-consumer has grown. To me, it's interesting also to see how the POS has gone down and then it went back up in an online sales. You mentioned that you guys don't have a ton of insight into how people are acquiring customers, but do you feel personally, you've been doing this for quite some time, you got a really great catbird seat. Do you feel that wineries need to market themselves just a little bit differently? I mean, you put up one slide, and I can't remember the numbers, that there was more new people coming in for sales than existing people at some point, right? And I find that maybe sometimes wineries struggle with how to sell themselves. Again, something that Wink and Blue Apron do incredibly well with their large budgets.
Yeah, definitely. As I mentioned, I don't have a ton of insight into the marketing, but I do talk to a lot of different, people who run marketing agencies in the industry. And, so from what I hear, the best kind of opportunity or the best way to approach things is with an omni-channel approach, right? You don't know where your customers are going to be. And so you want to, spread out wide, hit them on all channels, social and the site and email and kind of, just all the channels available. That's what I hear is kind of the best approach when it comes to marketing and reaching these people. I
think that's excellent. And I didn't learn that. By the way, I've done close to 20 online events, and we're pulling close to 15,000 people on each event now. We're doing very well. We offer a music thing. But the only reason I mention that, not for a shameless plug, but the only reason I mention that is because we actually went to a platform that we could broadcast across 5 different platforms, because most of our customers are Facebook. And a lot of wineries like Wink a lot of it's Instagram driven, right? But our audience is a little bit on the older side, so they follow a Facebook. But the minute we started hitting multiple Facebook pages and YouTube pages, and then when we bring guests in and have their pages also stream us live, the numbers exploded. I think that's something really important for wineries to see, so that then they start clicking on the buttons, they come into your software and start buying the wine. And then they have the free shipping, the customization, and that experience kicks in. And I think the numbers even go up even more so.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a new world. And especially with the fires that are going on right now, Zach and I want to mention as one last thing here, our hearts, our thoughts go out to everybody that's dealing with that. Once again, I know that a couple of my friends that are winemakers said, unfortunately, I know how to pack up and get out all too often at this point. Breaks my heart. The wine industry is so incredibly resilient. And we just got to keep going forward, because this is what we do, right? We make wine and we sell wine, but Zach's company helps us do it so much better online. So Zach, if there's any other final thoughts that you have, your presentation was absolutely outstanding, because to me, your presentation offered hope. If in the old days when we just had people come to the front door of our winery and that's all we had, your platform provides something that gives us hope that not only sales can thrive, but they can achieve beyond what we can do outside of our front doors.
It's exactly. It's great to see all the opportunity that e-commerce has presented to the industry here, and it's unfortunate to see that not everybody is capitalizing on this or in a position to take hold of this opportunity here. And so I would just finish here by saying that if this is intimidating to you, if personalizing or changing your club is intimidating to you, we're happy to help. Just consult with you, right? Not trying to give a sales pitch here, but if you want to just kind of pick our brain here in terms of what we're seeing or what you could be doing different or what we think about your website, we're happy to help. I know it is a difficult time for everybody right now, and so we're here to help. You can reach us at info@commerce7.com. You can give us a call or reach out to me directly.
Well, and I think to that final point, to the entrepreneurs out there that are thinking about spending a ton of money on a winery because they've been up to Healdsburg and they love that area, and you're going to buy a little plot of land, or a negotiant, some entrepreneur that's going to start his or her own brand.
online, the first place you should start is not the architect, not the winemaker. The first place you should start is Commerce 7 or a direct-to-consumer platform, because you should always start with sales and marketing, because you can make the greatest wine in the world, but if you can't sell it, then it's like the tree that falls in the woods. Nobody knows it exists. So to me, Commerce 7 is as important as hiring a winemaker up front and the architect to build that beautiful winery. So that's my shameless plug for you, Zach, and I truly believe that in my heart. Your software is outstanding, and you enable one of the greatest revolutions that this very old industry has seen in a long time. So thank you so much for your insight. Thank you for the data. You're outstanding, man. Thank you. And our next session is a top 5 wine consumer engagement strategies 2020 and beyond. They'll start at 10 a.m., so stay tuned.